Look at the Middle East from space. Between the Arabian Peninsula and Iran lies a tight stretch of water connecting the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. This is the Strait of Hormuz. For major energy producers like Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, this passage is the only maritime exit route to global markets. Every 24 hours, 20 million barrels of oil, vast quantities of liquefied natural gas, and nearly a third of the world's internationally traded fertilizers squeeze through this gap, branching out to feed economies across Asia and Europe. But the width of the water is deceiving. While 21 miles across at its narrowest point, much is dangerously shallow. The navigable space restricts massive flow lines to just 2 shipping lanes, each 2 miles wide. This geographic reality creates a single catastrophic point of failure. If these 4 miles are obstructed, every downstream supply chain is severed simultaneously. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched an aerial campaign dubbed Operation Epic Fury. The airstrikes targeted Iranian military infrastructure and leadership, resulting in the assassination of Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. Tehran's military response bypassed conventional naval warfare. Instead, Iranian forces leveraged their geography, turning the narrow shipping lanes of the Strait of Hormuz into a localized chokehold. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps flooded the waters with untrackable sea mines and deployed highly maneuverable explosive drone boats. They actively targeted neutral commercial vessels attempting to make the crossing. The Iranian military then instituted a maritime toll booth regime. Tankers flagged to specific nations, like China and India, were granted safe passage. Ships linked to Western nations or their allies were boarded, attacked, or turned away entirely. The long-standing international law guaranteeing free transit passage through the strait was erased. In its place, a rigid, militarized blockade dictated the flow of global trade. Inside the Persian Gulf, the effects were immediate. Shipping trackers went dark across the region, and massive energy tankers were left indefinitely stranded at port. The nations of the Gulf Cooperation Council import over 80% of their daily caloric intake. With container ships full of staples blocked from entering the Gulf, retail supply chains collapsed, triggering an acute grocery emergency and price spikes of over 100% in a matter of days. Supply disruptions extended to the most basic requirement for survival, fresh water. Targeted strikes hit the coastal desalination plants that provide 99% of the drinking water for nations like Kuwait and Qatar. For millions of people trapped behind the blockade, a fiscal emergency was now a race against a humanitarian catastrophe. The shockwaves quickly reached the rest of the world. With the strait closed to most commercial traffic, at least 10 million barrels of oil per day were suddenly removed from the global market. This is a chart tracking the price of Brent crude oil. In March 2026, the price experienced a violent, near-vertical spike, breaking past the $100 mark and peaking at $126 per barrel. Because oil and gas are inputs for almost everything else, that energy spike caused cascading failures. Regional airlines were forced to ground flights due to fuel shortages, while a massive drop in urea and ammonia exports out of the Gulf created fertilizer shortages that drove up agricultural costs worldwide. This event marked the largest disruption to the world's energy supply in history, plunging global markets into a cycle of inflation and economic stagnation not seen since the 1970s. At the United Nations, Secretary General Antonio Guterres and the Security Council issued condemnations regarding the violation of international navigation rights. These appeals were ignored. In response, United States President Donald Trump issued severe military ultimatums and ordered U.S. forces to begin aggressively clearing mines to force the waterway open. But a unified global response fractured. Desperate for fuel, nations acted independently to secure their own lifelines. India, for example, launched Operation Urja Suraksha, deploying its own naval warships to escort Indian flag carriers through the crossfire. Carrier strike groups project immense military power, but they struggle against highly decentralized asymmetric tactics. The constant presence of untrackable sea mines means that no amount of traditional naval firepower can simply mandate a safe shipping lane. The 2026 crisis exposed the fragility of a global economy built on the assumption of frictionless trade. It proved that our interconnected modern world remains tethered to this single 21-mile geographic trap.